Now, the rest of the story.
Alright, welcome back. This is the beginning of our summer maintenance jobs. I did speed this up a little bit. This took about 20 minutes, and I really don't think I need to make a 20-minute video on changing Discbine blades. That is exactly what I'm doing. As you can see, the cutter has not been used yet this year. I'm going through, I just got all the blades from my friend's place here just this morning. My friend being, the parts guy. I'm going through. If anybody is wondering why I'm not using the impact, I'll be a little bit more clear on this. When you tighten all this hardware down with the impact, and say you go out and run a rock through it, or a stump, or whatever else you can find, and you end up breaking a blade or whatever else, well, I don't really carry an impact on me. I used to. I had a snap-on half-inch drive impact that I used to throw in the tractor with me to change blades. That is still an option, I guess. I just have to change I need to get a new battery for it. But I found out after years and years of experience of running this machine that the amount of trouble I actually have with changing the disc blades and actually tightening them down is pretty much nil. You can see how I'm tightening them now with just a standard bar, and I'm running them down just so the thread is level with the top of the bolt, and I have yet to have any problems with hardware backing out on me. On the far end of this cutter bar, see, I didn't move the camera so you guys won't be able to see it, but on the very far end, on the end shell, I actually had one where the blade was gone altogether. So there's only been a handful of times in my life where I've actually had that happen. And I don't really remember what or where we were cutting with last fall that the blades got busted up as bad as they did. The ones on this side, you can tell, the first 3, I'd say, on this side, I was actually keeping all the blades because they were actually in pretty good condition yet. I could actually turn them over. They still had a turn on them yet, and I just didn't see much point in throwing them away. If they're still usable, they're usable, because these blades, I think, are like $5-6 a piece. That adds up if you start swapping them out and throwing them out just because they got a little ding or a dent. Basically, if it works, it works. I do cut a lot of pasture ground with this, a lot of uneven ground, so we aren't just in the fields. So having some busted up spares, or I don't want to say busted up, but some used replacements to throw in, as opposed to putting in a brand new blade, especially when you're cutting pasture grass, is actually probably the better route to go. On the very end, completely on the other side of this, to my back, in the end I did not put new blades on that outside shell, namely being because that side is always the side that makes the first round in the fields, and then in the spring, the first cutting of the year, that tends to eat the most dirt, rocks, fencing wire on one special occasion, and honestly, those blades I'll end up replacing after the first day anyway, even if I made them or would have put in brand new blades. So I just go through and I just put in 2 backup blades. I mean, they've already been used, but I just turned them over, and it cuts just fine. The weather is kind of changing. I'm hearing that this week it's supposed to kind of dry out, so we'll have to wait and see what we all end up deciding to do. We have a pretty good list of work to do between, I know this is a working on the cutter head video, but I do got to get the cultivator out and get that gone through so I can start side dressing here in about another week or so. I don't have a whole lot of experience with the old sickle bars. I can't remember the number that we used to have. I remember growing up, we used to have 2 of those old style hay binds, and I never had the pleasure of having to run them. Grandpa had got his first, it was a 936, just a side swing Discbine. He got that, and I believe I was either 5th grade or just starting middle school, and we've never looked back. I've never had the pleasure of busting a sickle or busting a guard or anything else like that and having to go out and fight the bugs to get those out. I mean, yes, I've had to do blade changes with this, but a little bit of experience goes a long way with doing these. I mean, 20 minutes, and I was actually just taking my time. It slowed me down a little bit because everything is kind of rusted up. The top of the bolts that do have a little bit of exposure, I did wash this out. So yes, rust did form, and I did have a little bit of trouble getting some of these to back out. And then you see I'm using that smaller breaker bar. I'm using the handle of that. It's about the perfect size, and you hit the top of the bolts with that, and you can knock them down through because they have to be lined up through these holes here in the front of these guards, or these skid plates. So, honestly, this is one of the machines that I'm the one that maintains anymore. Don't really mind it. Like I said, I'm so familiar with the machine, I can pretty much go through it without any real big issues. Greasing, I know people are kind of surprised and interested by the fact that I do go through and grease everything in the fall before we put it away, and that is exactly what I did with this. I went through and I touched up the grease on it before, when I was done changing the blades, and 3 or 4 shots is all they needed, and they were puking out clean grease. So I think it's just a good course of action, good preventative maintenance, because it's keeping the grease fresh in the zerks and through all your pivot points, your bearings. It beats having to try to pull grease zerks off and get them unstuck or unplugged, because, well, any job really, like the tillage tools, of course, they're always eating dirt. Going through and just freshening up the grease on those sure beats leaving them covered in dirt, dust, debris, and then parking them for 4, 5, 6 months, and then trying to re-grease them by then, because that stuff just turns to like concrete. So, let's see here. I'm almost done. I'm getting there. Yeah, actually, I should have had this parked out in the grass. Originally I did, but I didn't know if I needed the air hose, and luckily for me, I didn't have to go through and drag the air hose out to loosen everything off. I didn't go through and do the hoses yet as of today. I'm thinking maybe I'll try to get that done sometime today. I have 2 hose leaks. The only problem is I'm just by glancing at them, I'm pretty sure those hoses run the whole length of the tongue. So the hoses that plug into the tractor, it's the same hose that comes out the back. There are no splits. There's nothing I can shorten it up, and I'll probably be pulling out a 15, 20 foot long hose, because on the one, looks like it was rubbing along the frame. And like I said, we've had this machine for, this will be my 11th year with this thing, and I've only blown one hose with it before. And the last hose I blew on it, it was, what was it? I think it was a pivot cylinder. No, heck, I can't remember. But it was one that the hose ran the whole length of the tongue, and between the grease and everything else of fishing it out, I didn't have gloves or nothing, so I was pretty much solid grease and dirt and dust and debris. But I have a pretty good, you can guys tell I'm sitting in the dirt and dust, but I have a pretty good reputation down here as far as when we start working on stuff, I'm usually pretty well covered, and I definitely did not disappoint even after this job. So, yeah, I wish the grass was looked a little bit better than what it does. I went and kind of drove through it before I came home last night. Not along it. I didn't drive through the hay. I wish it was looking a little bit better than what it does, but maybe once we actually get going through, it'll add up. The alfalfa looks heavier. The grass, which, I mean, honestly, the grass that's out in the field, we really should have had worked down and planted and whatever else, but we need the feed. Oh, excuse me. So, I don't know how much we're going to get cut here. I don't really want to knock down a whole bunch and find out it's going to get rained on for a few days. So, all right, guys, that's about pretty much all I got for this video. I mean, I should have maybe just sat and did a little bit more of a tutorial on this is how you should be changing these out, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory if you watch me work on them. So, all right. Thanks for watching. Take care. Take it easy. Keep in touch. I'll talk to you later.